He won 200 million in the lottery, but he had to pretend to be broke. He secretly bought a bottle of 82 Lafite and poured it into a $10 wine bottle. He packed imported meat sauce into a can of Spam, threw away the wrapper of Spanish ham, and wrapped it in cheap cling film. His name was David. His wife thought he was too poor and asked for a divorce, but fate played a trick. Not long after, he hit the jackpot and became a billionaire overnight. Still, he didn't tell his wife. He kept acting poor because his lawyer warned him the money counted as marital property. If they divorced now, his wife would walk away with 100 million, and David couldn't accept that. Even though he was suddenly rich, he could only spend it in secret. So he went to a high-end suit shop and ordered 2 Armani suits, dropping 300 grand just like that. Then he spent another 400 grand on a Rolex, and finally upgraded to an iPhone 18. He was strolling around, enjoying himself, when he suddenly ran into someone he knew. He panicked, pulled a bag over his face, and ducked into a luxury store. He begged the clerk to block the entrance. Looking at David's designer outfit, the clerk didn't even hesitate and agreed. To repay the favor, David spent 100 grand on a soda can stand. When he got home, he hid all his luxury goods in the storage room and poured the fine wine into cheap bottles. Once everything was disguised, he finally dared to relax. He took a sip and thought, my God, this flavor is heavenly. Just as David was enjoying his secret rich life, the front door opened. His wife was back. He jumped onto the couch in a flash, unbuttoned his shirt, and by the time she walked in, he had stripped off the expensive suit and was sitting there acting casual. His wife, fed up with him lounging around all day, told him to get a job at the supermarket. David didn't need the money, but to keep her from getting suspicious, he agreed. What he didn't expect was that the supermarket owner was his old enemy, Steven. Since their school days, Steven had made David's life miserable. Nothing had changed. Now Steven mocked him for being broke, him a loser, and even tried to seduce his wife, flaunting the fact he was making David wear a green hat. But David swallowed his anger. Keeping those 200 million safe was all that mattered. That evening, his in-laws came over. When his wife poured wine for her mother, David froze. He rushed to stop her, saying the wine was too low grade and they should open another. His father-in-law sneered and mocked him, asking what good wine he could possibly offer. But after taking one sip, he was stunned. The taste brought back memories of a fancy banquet from decades ago. Seeing her father enjoy it so much, David's wife gave him the rest of their stash without hesitation. David's heart was bleeding. He forced himself to toast his father-in-law, but then realized he'd forgotten to take off his luxury watch. He quickly tried to cover it with his sleeve, but his sharp-eyed father-in-law caught him. David lied, saying the watch was fake and only cost $5. He breathed a sigh of relief, but then his father-in-law suddenly pulled out a $100 bill and bought it on the spot. Just like that, his Rolex was gone. At that moment, David's phone rang. He froze. It was his brand new iPhone 18, the one he'd just bought that day, and he'd forgotten to turn it off. His wife urged him to answer quickly. Panic set in. If he pulled out the new phone, his secret would be exposed. Desperate, he blurted out, "Mandy wants to divorce me." His wife was stunned, and his in-laws stared at him in shock.